Hey everyone, David Brown here with DragRace Concepts, BC Race Cars. Uh, we are going to review a couple of things. I decided to stop the last video because I wanted to make some modifications to a couple of parts. Once again, I have my primary car, and we are going to build the backup car, which is the experiment car. That's the fun part of being on a team. So, one of the things that I changed here is it's kind of going to be hard to see on camera, but this block that's up underneath here where my finger is, that is a really big, fairly solid block. I think you can see that in the camera. And the center section of it, let's see if I can point to it. The center section of it, that has a little pocket that's milled out, but I decided that what I wanted to do was skeletonize it a little bit. So this used to have a whole centerpiece, and this side of it was solid. So I basically put that entire groove across it, lightened it up, did a little of this, a little of that, and it took a lot of weight off of it. And I was thinking about drilling some cross holes there, all the way through, a couple of 3/16 holes. Not sure if I was holding that in front of the camera, but cross holes there, 3/16 holes across through there and through there, and then perhaps in the surface here and here. And by doing the math, you can look up the weight of the aluminum and what it will weigh per cubic centimeter. You can do all the math and figure out the volume that you would be removing, pi r squared times depth, whatever, and then that'll give you your cubic inches or cubic centimeters, and you can do the math for how much weight you're removing per little bit. Now, with that being said, my calculations said that it should have been 20 grams all total in this project, and I took out 21.5 grams according to the scale. So that would be a question for the manufacturer, Mr. Ken Loopy with DragRace Concepts, because he's the smart one that picked out the right material. This stuff is strong. It's very strong. So I have no worries about skeletonizing it. And let's go back to this car here. If you look closely, you can see how the arm is mounted. You can see a little bit of a defined line that's there. Let's see if I roll it over and get the angle turned right. You can see that there's an additional block that sits on the top. And what that is, folks, whenever you start your build, you'll see this part. The screws go through the chassis plate. You'll see me put it together here in just a minute. The screws go through the chassis plate and then through this part. This is threaded, and then the A-frame, your rear arm, will mount there. So I put a significant little notch in that. So these weighed 10 grams for the pair of these, one for each side. And I took a significant chunk out of it, and this is the front mount. You can see in the video, let's see if I can get the camera to focus. It wants to focus on me. How's that look, everybody? So the difference in the amount of weight that I was able to take out, but plus this ear was really thick. It stuck out way over here, And so I just machined it, so now basically I can put this on either way in the car, and it shouldn't make a difference because the dimensions are equalized. It's just a lightweight thing. If you're crafty enough to do the machining, then have at it. But it's an experimental part. Quite honestly, I thought about 3D printing this. Uh, I have 3D printers. I 3D print a lot of stuff. So just something to think about. And, another thing that I'm going to point out, I use iFixit kits. Uh, it's a whole kit. It's over here. That's the top for a tool cover. And it's great for working on electronics, RC cars and stuff. I don't have my normal toolkit right here with me right now because it's at the track up in Bowling Green, Ohio. And I keep these things in my desk, in my toolbox. They are absolutely amazing. You will see me use the drill adapter, but these little tiny bits go into here, and you have every size you could possibly think of in these dudes. All kinds of nut drivers, whatever. So just wanted to point that out. I've already been questioned a couple of times what it is that I'm using, but let's get to building this car. You guys good with that? Let's go build. Gonna go to the overhead, and let's do that. All right then. Let's get after this thing. Right now, I don't think that I need that. I have a chassis plate, and I have parts, lots of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this base put back together. I'm going to go through and retighten everything later. I'm just kind of showing you how these pieces go on for now. So, a neat thing about this part, I mentioned before that this could have been 3D printed because it all sandwiches together. This will eventually be a rear tower mount, and the transmission sets on top of it. Here we are. If you look at the bottom of the transmission, it already has the gap in it, so I wasn't worried about the gap across that. She's going to set on there on top of it, just like that. So, let's start with that. Screw all the way through the chassis plate, all of the way through this. And it mounts down. And now, I'm going to try to roll it over and show you how many threads are actually in that. There's a lot. I know this mat's dark. I think you can see it there. There is a lot of threads that actually go up into that. And this is all held on by 8 screws. Uh-oh. Yeah, we all drop stuff every once in a while, right? So, looking at it from the backside, you can see the 4 screws that hold that block on for the front. And now looking at this side, there's 8 screws that hold the rear section on. I know that I can tell you there is a lot of beef to that car. It is very strong. So, back to unpackaging, I suppose. This is where, I don't know, should I do another video? Because I have to assemble the CV shafts, I have to install the rear arms, and this whole rear shock tower is a process. There's an aluminum piece and 2 carbon pieces and a whole bunch of screws there to put this section of the car back together. I already have the shocks built. Sorry I didn't do a video on that. We'll cover that later because I rebuild shocks constantly. I will do that. But I think for now, let's call this good.